This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. Do we have to wait until the time is up? Yunxiao's heart was filled with bitterness. The time in this world was always uncertain, but it was normal to delay it for a few days. If the two fought for a few days, the hall would be destroyed no matter how strong it was, and he would have no choice but to hide in the Divine Realm tablet. However, for an expert of this level, even the Divine Realm tablet, which was almost a life-saving weapon, couldn't resist it. The golden light in Tianxi's hands grew stronger and stronger, and the sound waves also became extremely ear-piercing. Rings of weapon accumulations jolted out, appearing to be extremely extraordinary. Jiang Churen's expression was also extremely serious. The sharp sword in his hand turned into a blue sword light under his sword art and condensed into a circular sword ring around his body. As Jiang Churen's sword art entered it, its aura kept rising. The two masters were gathering their power crazily. One was as tall as a mountain, while the other was as deep as a cold abyss. The whole space was distorted, and the hall became unstable. Jiang Churen's battle intent was even higher. Both of them were peerless experts. This was a rare encounter, and he could fight to his heart's content. As the Red Moon City Master, there were too many heavy responsibilities on his shoulders. Many times, he could not help himself. But at this moment, he had completely forgotten his own identity. The person standing in front of Tianxi was not the Red Moon City Master Jiang Churen, but the peak 9-star martial artist Jiang Churen. The golden light in Tianxi's hand gradually took form, and it was a golden spear. It hung in front of him, and a terrifying aura mixed with the sound of the weapon essence was shaken off from the profound level weapon. Tianxi pointed a finger at the spear, and it immediately spun and slashed out in the air. The sword ring beside Jiang Churen gave birth to endless sword intent. Tiny sword shapes appeared around the ring, interlocking with each other and forming countless sword shadows. 3,000 rays of sword qi, soaring the void. The incantation gesture in Jiang Churen's hand condensed into a pair of wings, which lightly hit the sword ring. Immediately, the countless sword shadows spread their wings at the same time, turning into flying swords that filled the sky, resisting Tianxi's fierce and unparalleled dagger axe. Bang! 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 The sound of countless swords shattering rang out, and the three flying feather swords were completely shattered under Tianxi's halberd. The entire sword ring could no longer withstand the pressure and let out a heart-shaking creaking sound. Bang! The boundless sword will in front of Jiang Churen was broken and he was forced to retreat. The sword ring that was unsealed flew into the air and landed on the ground. Then, it broke with a bang, leaving only half of the blade. Jiang Churen furrowed his brows. Although this sharp blade of his was only an ordinary 9th-tier profound armament, it had been by his side for many years. Their minds were already connected, and he could use it to perfection. He didn't expect it to be destroyed here. Having succeeded in his move, Tianxi immediately grabbed the dagger axe back into his hand and placed it behind him. A calm expression appeared on his face as he said, "A jar will never break from the mouth of the well. It's not an insult to it to be destroyed by the sharp light of my dagger axe. Red Moon City Master, my condolences." Jiang Churen nodded slightly and took out a hollow ball. He held it in his hand and said, "Let's continue." Tianxi's sword-like eyebrows raised and he said coldly, "Red Moon City Master, do you really intend to fight to the end? If we continue to fight, there will be no turning back." "Let me take Li Yunxiao away," Jiang Churen said. "Then let's have a life-and-death battle." Tianxi roared. The dagger axe could feel the endless fighting will of Tianxi. It pierced through the air, and the sharp qi split the killing realm between the two. The conditions that could not be compromised had left the two with no room for reconciliation. Jiang Churen took a step back with his right foot. The hollow ball in his hand was breathing in and out green qi. A layer of white mist slowly appeared around the ball, as if there was a dragon shuttling through it. It was his current natal profound artifact rhinoceros horn gomang. The dagger axe's sharp light pierced into the gomang with a clang. The ball suddenly enlarged and the dagger axe went through it. However, it stopped a few inches in front of Jiang Churan. Tianxi's expression changed slightly. The rhinoceros gomang was like an iron lock that had trapped his dagger axe, preventing it from moving forward or backward. At this moment, the green chi on Gomang's dagger axe gushed out from the hollow eyes and crept up the dagger axe. Humph. Tianxi snorted coldly and pointed a finger at the battle spear. Rays of golden light began to spread forward from his finger gesture. Every few inches, a golden Maha ancient character would pop up and appear in the air, forming a string of incomprehensible words. Bang! There was a shock from Gomang. After the line of Maha ancient characters appeared on the spear, it changed greatly again. It broke through Gomang's blockade and continued to stab forward. Jiang Churan's expression changed drastically. He also changed his palm into a seal and instantly slapped on that Gomang. He shouted, "Arrogance in the wind, 10,000 streams return to one." The rhinoceros Gomang's form changed. Like the head of a strange beast, it bit the sharp light halberd tightly. Rays of green chi shot out from it, illuminating the entire hall in a dazzling and magnificent way. The terrifying power was released bit by bit, gradually forcing out the sharp light. Yun Shao was hiding behind a pillar, but he could see the other side directly with the power of his lunar pupils. He was shocked. That Gomang ball was indeed forged from a rhinoceros horn, and it was actually able to contend against a Maha ancient weapon. Moreover, ordinary Maha ancient weapons usually only had a single tadpole-like character, but Tianxi's dagger axe had a complete string of ancient characters on it. That rhinoceros horn was definitely a true spirit-level existence, and the Red Moon City's foundation was very deep. At this moment, Yun Shao was more concerned about the final outcome. He could not help at all with his ability, so he could only wait for the judgment of fate. What surprised him was that the sacred healing pill that Yuzhua had given him was extremely effective. In addition to the various natural treasures that he had consumed, most of his injuries had already healed. Furthermore, he had also been enlightened by Tianxi. At this moment, his realm had also risen to the peak of the 9-star realm, and he was only one step away from becoming a martial supreme. If he could step into the 9 heavens realm at this moment, Yun Shao could find a way to sneak up on Jiang Churan at a critical moment and help him defeat Tianxi. With that thought in mind, he immediately calmed down and took out all the resources he had and began to break through to the 9 heavens martial emperor realm. Not far away, Tianxi's expression changed slightly. The sharp light of his spear was unstoppable and contained an extremely powerful penetrating force. Yet, it was actually trapped by the strange little ball of the other party. It was simply unbelievable. Bang! Jiang Churan slapped Gomang once again. A green light bloomed and the dagger axe was thrown out directly. Tianxi was hit by the huge impact and took a few steps back. The rhinoceros horn Gomang was in Jiang Churan's hand. The heads of beasts seemed to be faintly visible in the white fog around them, forming a strange phenomenon. A savage and brutal aura could be felt. It was as if they were dreaming of the ancient times and those peerless ferocious beasts had come back to life. Silver thread ancient rhinoceros horn? Tianxi was moved. The shadow of an ancient beast gradually appeared behind Jiang Churan, who was holding Gomang. It stared ahead coldly. Gomang, who was in the white mist, gradually unraveled and turned into a curved silver blade that emitted a cold light. Tianxi's expression turned serious. The silver thread ancient rhinoceros was one of the top true spirits of the ancient era, and unlike the other true spirits, almost all of its power was concentrated on that silver horn. Even though it had been circulating for thousands of years and was man-made, the power within it had been greatly depleted, but it was still extremely fierce. Humph, unless the true spirit reappears in the world, no one can save you. Tianxi's expression was solemn as he raised his dagger axe high up in the air. The ancient Maha characters on it glowed with a brilliant light, and with just a single movement, the pillars of the entire hall were unable to withstand the heavy pressure and began to twist and distort. Yun Shao, who was trying hard to calm his heart and regulate his breathing, could not calm down under such an aura. He opened his eyes in horror and saw that the huge pillar beside him had also begun to bend and press down. Through the pillar, he saw that not only were the ancient Maha characters flashing on the golden spear in Tianxi's hand, but there were also strange patterns that were constantly changing, as if they were playing out a story. Jiang Churan's expression turned serious. He used the sword technique in his left hand to point at the silver blade. In an instant, a fierce aura soared into the sky. Silver light shot out in all directions, and the sky was filled with the shadow of the silver blade. It faced the golden light of the battle dagger axe from a distance and divided the main hall into a clearly divided world of gold and silver. Today, I'm going to split the heavens and earth. Tianxi's gaze was ice-cold as countless illusionary figures appeared from his body. This was Moronju's ultimate technique, the myriad of illusionary bodies. He grabbed his spear and charged forward. Without any techniques, he directly slashed down from the sky. At their level, they had already mastered the laws of heaven and earth, and any move was already redundant. Roar! The silver thread ancient rhinoceros behind Jiang Churan suddenly let out a loud roar. The silver horn on the phantom gave off a monstrous light, and the silver blades that filled the sky gathered and rushed into the gomang, slashing out in the air. Boom! The two unparalleled forces collided, and all the light was shattered. The gold and silver colors intertwined and devoured each other. Huge cracks began to appear in the entire hall, and the few giant pillars closest to the two of them collapsed. The sharp light halberd and the rhinoceros horn gomang squeezed against each other, and golden and silver lights shot out one after another. Each of them was extremely powerful, and they pierced thousands of holes in the entire hall. The ground cracked open like a turtle's shell, as if the end of the world had come. Jiang Churan's face was ashen, but there was a hint of madness in his eyes. His battle intent grew stronger and stronger as he laughed wildly. This feels great. For many years, he had never released all his power like today and fought without any fear. No matter how exhilarating a duel is, there will always be an end to it. Since I've had my fun, I can die without any regrets. Tianxi replied coldly. Clang. A crisp metallic sound suddenly rang out from the battle spear, and it suddenly transformed into a series of golden shadows, forming a strange weapon formation in front of Tianxi like a clone. Golden spear flowing shadows, clear the clouds and reveal the sun. Tianxi replied coldly. The weapon array spread out and pressed down on Jiang Churan. Jiang Churan was shocked. Gomang turned into thousands of silver lights and shook off the sharp light. The giant ancient rhinoceros shadow behind him rushed into the silver blades and slashed at the weapon array. Bang! The artifact array formed by sharp light's clone suddenly spread out into tens of thousands of golden beams that shot in all directions, turning the entire hall into ruins. One of the golden beams was shooting in Yunxiao's direction, and it arrived in front of him in an instant. Yunxiao was taken aback. When the golden light came, it had already pierced through two towering pillars, but its power was still not reduced. It even pierced through the pillar in front of him and shot out. Although it was only the power of the aftermath, it was not something he could block. Moreover, this golden light contained endless nomological intent, sealing off all possibilities of escape. A cold light flashed in his eyes, and a demonic power shot out from his eyes. He said softly, "I technique buried sun." The scene around him changed slightly. The sharp golden light gradually dimmed and disappeared in front of his eyes. He could change heaven and earth and reverse time and space. N. Yunxiao snorted in a muffled voice. A mouthful of hot blood welled up in his throat, but he quickly suppressed it. He had forcefully raised the power of the moon pupil and changed the world, wiping the golden light from reality. However, he had also suffered a backlash from the power and injured his internal organs. At this moment, his mind trembled and he closed his eyes. He covered his eyes with his hands, and a terrifying aura spread out from the depths of his soul. He was not unfamiliar with this aura. It was the moon eye that had been sleeping for a long time. It seemed to be waking up. The demonic dragon was also startled, and a chill ran down their spines. Li Yunxiao, this power is very strong. Can you suppress it? I have to suppress it even if I have to burn the power of my soul, Yunxiao said bitterly. Otherwise, you and I will both be wiped out by it. Horrified, the dragon hurriedly performed a hand seal, and his entire body began to merge with Yunxiao's soul. It was the soul battle technique of the Soul Devourer clan, and they joined forces to suppress the moon eye that was about to wake up. Yunxiao had never felt so powerless before. There were strong enemies on the outside and troubles on the inside, and they were all so powerful that they made him tremble. After merging with the demon dragon, Yunxiao's body began to show signs of demonization. At the same time, he began to circulate the Great Expansion divine technique, and the terrifying aura in the depths of his soul began to gradually subside. After Jiang Churen shattered the weapon array with a single move, the dagger axe was already in Tianxi's hand. He took a step forward and thrust it down. The surging power was like the collapse of mountains and the evaporation of rivers and seas. Bang! Jiang Churen's expression changed drastically, and a trace of panic flashed through his eyes. He hurriedly parried with the silver blade in his hand, but it was broken by the battle dagger axe, and his whole body was sent flying. Jiang Churen only managed to stabilize himself after he retreated to the entrance of the main hall. However, his face was already pale, and the golden light of his dagger axe kept flashing on his body. A stream of blood flowed down from the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were filled with fear. Everything is about to end. Tianxi was overjoyed. He didn't think that a single slash would be able to injure his opponent. The power of the dagger axe was extremely overbearing, and once it entered his body, even if his opponent was a peerless expert, he would definitely be heavily injured. He laughed maniacally as he took a step forward and used spatial bending. The dagger axe flew straight towards him as he mocked, even the human's peak expert is only so much. I'm really disappointed. The halberd glowed with layers of golden light, and all kinds of Maha ancient characters were constantly deducing on it. Then, it directly stabbed down. Oh. Are you disappointed? Jiang Churen's mouth suddenly revealed a trace of a smile. The golden light of the dagger axe on his body suddenly disappeared. The silver blade turned into a symbol and stood upright in front of him. The fear in his eyes was swept away, replaced by a look of ridicule. What? Tianxi's heart instantly sank as he exclaimed in shock and anger, "You're not injured? Are you lying to me? I thought that the competition between the top experts is not only about strength, but also about wisdom. Did I misunderstand?" Jiang Churen smiled faintly. You coward, you should die. In Tianxi's rage, it was already too late. The silver blade exuded an extremely overbearing force, and the silver thread ancient rhinoceros's phantom rushed out in an instant. It roared and lowered its head, using its silver horn to block the attack. The god welcomes the three lights, the selfless is boundless. Tianxi's face was ashen. In this huge crisis, he poured all his strength into the battle dagger. Under the monstrous golden light, the Maha ancient characters flew in a circle and quickly struck the rhinoceros horn. Bang! A deafening boom rang out as a tremendous force exploded forth. Tianxi was sent flying in an instant, and the entire hall crumbled completely under the impact. All the buildings collapsed, turning into pieces of rubble that were sent flying in all directions. Yunxiao was also swept up by the aftershock, like a small boat in a whirlpool. He could not help but let the force drag him into the air. The large amount of gravel in the aftermath of the whirlpool was also full of violent power. Like pieces of profound-level weapons, they continued to rush over and hit his body like raindrops. He was dizzy from the impact and all the acupuncture points in his body burst out blood. At this moment, he once again felt the sorrow of being a minion. When immortals fought, mortals suffered. This won't do. If this goes on, I'll be killed by Jiang Churen before the lunar pupil awakens and before Tianxi can kill me. In a hurry, Yunxiao took out the Divine Realm tablet and activated the Earth territory to freeze the space where he was, and then the Wind territory to block all the powerful gravel outside. Even so, his body was still involuntarily lifted up, and the gravel continued to hit him. However, it was already much better, and it was basically within his control. It was only then that Yunxiao could see the situation outside. After the Great Hall was destroyed, the dull and rotten buildings below had mostly been wiped away. He had returned to the Blood Moon, and most of the highest altar had been destroyed by the attack. The dagger axe in Tianxi's hand was none other than the supreme treasure that was radiating the power of extreme yang. With this item taken away, the grand and imposing air surrounding the altar was completely obliterated, and it became no different from any other ordinary building. The painting space also broke apart along with the destruction of the Great Hall. Rays of light shot out from the altar. They were the people of the 7 great sections. Each of them had a frightened expression on their faces, not knowing what had happened, and they were looking around. Yu Shuo was the first to see Yun Shao, who was standing in the air, covered in wounds. He was shocked. He thought that Yun Shao had been seriously injured in the battle with Tianxi, and could not help but gasp in horror. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. Among them were people from the Red Moon City. They soon saw Jiang Churan standing quietly among the waste in the distance and flew over in joy. No matter what happened, they were safe with Jiang Churan around. Suddenly, an aura emanated from Jiang Churan's body, directly pushing back the people who were flying over. At this moment, the people from the other sects also saw Jiang Churan's figure. Baiming Tongfeng's heart trembled and he said in shock, "Red Moon City Master?" At this moment, Jiang Churan's aura was as strong as a towering mountain. Just a glance at it was enough to make one feel terrified. Only then did everyone understand why the space suddenly changed when they were searching for treasure. They were directly jolted out of the mural. It turned out that a shocking battle had destroyed the mural and twisted time and space. Jiang Churan's expression did not relax at all after he sent Tianxi flying. He said in a serious tone, "Everyone, leave immediately." Everyone's heart trembled. That sentence was like an order that could not be disobeyed, making it impossible for anyone to resist. At the same time, they were shocked. Who was fighting with the Red Moon City Master? It was only then that Yu Shuo and the other two realized that it was the City Lord of Red Moon City who was fighting Tianxi, not Yun Shao. They were almost scared to death. At this moment, Tianxi was nowhere to be seen. In addition to the astonishing aura of Red Moon City, Yun Shao, who was high in the sky and covered in wounds, was there as well. The rest of the people had strange looks on their faces, wondering if they were fighting with Yun Shao. As soon as the thought flashed through their minds, they immediately rejected it. They would rather believe that Yun Shao was a woman than believe that he could fight the City Lord of Red Moon City. "Let's go." Jiang Churan shouted again, as if he was very dissatisfied with the group's continued stay. Everyone's heart thumped wildly. They did not dare to stay any longer. They hurriedly flew up into the sky and headed in the direction they came from. As long as they stepped into that space, they would immediately be transported to the desert. After stabilizing his injuries, Yun Shao hurriedly transformed into a thunderbolt and tried to escape with the others. Suddenly, an ice-cold voice rang out, "You can't leave." Just as he transformed into a bolt of lightning, he was immediately locked down by a force and was unable to move. Jiang Churan snorted and slashed out his silver blade in the air. It was like a silver dragon soaring into the sky and instantly cut through the ceiling force. It exploded in the air and turned into countless silver rays again, shooting into the void. Whoosh! 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 The sky was filled with terrifying silver light. The martial emperor powerhouses' faces turned pale. Although they did not know who was in the void, they at least knew that it was an existence that they could not afford to offend. All of them quickly ran back the way they came. Yun Shao felt his body lighten, and the ceiling force disappeared completely. He hurriedly turned into a thunderbolt and fled. "Humph, I said you can't leave, no one can save you." Tianxi's voice rang out once more, and the silver light in the sky disappeared in an instant, as if it had never appeared in the first place. It was as if it had been wiped away by some kind of power. Yun Shao trembled and cried out in horror, "Change heaven and earth, twist time and space." This was also a divine ability that only his moon pupil possessed, and since Tianxi was on par with the moon pupil, it was not surprising that he knew the moon pupil's moves. An unparalleled force came down from the sky, and his state of thunder and lightning was broken again. It was as if someone had kicked his chest in the air, and he flew out directly and was blasted into the altar. Tianxi did not seem to care about the lives of the others at all. All the martial sovereigns had run away without a trace, and he did not even make a move. Jiang Churen's expression grew more and more solemn. He had also sensed the extremely strong spiritual fluctuation in the sky, especially the words Yunxiao said. It made him tremble and put him on full alert. The sky was as dark as ink, as if it had devoured all the light, as if it was facing an abyss. Suddenly, a firefly-like blue light lit up in the sky and gradually became the size of a fist. It was like a blue flower in full bloom. It was crystal clear and emitted a crystal-like light. It was so beautiful that it couldn't be compared to anything else. It was as if it had come from another world and slowly descended.